When you know the routine, then it makes it easier.
Yep. Coming up with solutions that are productive.
If you hear it from another teacher, you gotta trust it.
Take advantage of those first initial days to introduce yourself to as many parents as you can. That's a pretty butterfly.
Scary.
Scary?
I'm not a fan of butterfly.
So if one landed on your shoulder?
I'd freak out.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, hey, I'm back with Alyssa, and I asked her if we could go and have some casual conversation. You are heading home, back to Washington State, my home ground as well. We grew up a couple hours from each other, a couple decades apart.
Yeah.
So anyway, hey, what I wanted to kind of like an exit interview, but really for this purpose of this course, talking about supporting, finding, creating, motivating, incentivizing teachers' aides who are just getting into early childhood. But I really want to talk about your experience. You wrote a really heartwarming thank you card to us. Tell me about how your experience has gone.
I've had other jobs, and the work environment hasn't always been like the best. It's been a little bit like gossipy, or lots of drama, and people who like didn't want to be there, complaining all the time, just like not fun. And when you go somewhere and you're like in a good mood, and then the other people that you're working with aren't, it makes you kind of upset. And so I came here and I was like, I'm not expecting anything different. Like, I don't, it's kids, like maybe they're just not gonna enjoy it. They're gonna be tired because kids are a lot of work.
Right.
And so when I came here, it was the complete opposite, and it just, you can tell that everyone here always pretty much loves what they're doing.
Yeah.
We all have like our bad days, but they're still happy, and I think that helped a lot, and that helps me stay motivated and enjoy what I do.
Yeah. It's always heartbreaking to me when someone talks about coming to work on a Monday morning and their co-teacher comes in, and maybe they just got in a fight with their boyfriend and they're coming in hot, and all of a sudden just knocks the wind and sails out of, that one that's just like excited about their morning, and all of a sudden just brings us down. It's so important. And creating that kind of environment is tough, to be honest. It requires a lot of tough conversations that we have to have with staff, with those that sometimes bring a little bit more drama or tension or struggles, and try to find that balance of personal baggage versus learning how to check that out the door and that kind of stuff.
That's what my coach used to say, is leave it out the door.
Yeah, leave it at the door. Yeah. And it's easy to say, sometimes it's tough to do because we're emotional creatures. Yeah. Can you reflect back to some really great moments that you had that were either teaching moments or just people moments or child or parent engagement times that you could share?
I was thinking about the staff development day, and I had gone in, I think I'd worked maybe like 2 or 3 days, but it had been a week since I'd been hired, and I was like, I don't really know anyone, but everyone was like nice, so I was like, oh, I'll just sit with like the teachers I've worked the most with. And I show up and everyone's already at their tables all together, and so I go to this table on the side, kind of in the back. Kim comes over and she's like, what's your name? Like, you're Alyssa, right? And I was like, yeah. And she said, why are you like, come sit with us. So she invited me to go sit. And I think I waited maybe like 2 minutes, and within that 2 minutes, Shale came over, Tanya and Gina all came over, and Austin came over, I think. And we all just had we now had our table, and they were like, oh, hey, like they acted like they already knew me, and it made things a little bit easier because I was kind of scared to get up and like go in the middle of everything and introduce myself to new people. That was one thing though that really helped, was having Kim, and then getting to sit at a table too with like some of the easygooing, nice, talkative people. I got lucky with where I sat. It sounds like you're describing yourself a little bit as a little bit calm and timid, not the one going out and seeking those immediate conversations with strangers. At first, for sure.
Right? Like if I go to the grocery store, I usually talk to the person either in front of me or behind me almost every time.
I just talk to the cashier.
There you go. That's more.
If they ask me a question, I'll maybe come up with something.
It's really important for senior staff or staff that have been in the program for a while to really be conscientious about reaching out and breaking down those walls, initiating conversation. It's so important because that's not always the case though. I mean, sometimes we have, you've been in the program for a while, you've seen co-teachers or aides come and go, and you can, as maybe as senior staff, you could get sucked into the idea of, well, we'll see if she works out. If so, I'll put in some effort, which is the wrong way to go. So we want to avoid that trap at all costs. Well, that's cool. It's great that you shared your warm-up experience with the staff development. Thinking about some good moments you had with kids or parent engagements. Is there one of those that you might share?
With the parents, I've kind of noticed the ones that like are easy to talk to in a way, or like I find comfortable talking to, are the ones that I find sort of connections with.
Yeah.
So being able to figure out, like, I struggled with introducing myself to parents, and then I kind of realized it's too late. Like, I've been here, they've seen my face, so now it would just be weird to be like, by the way, like, my name's Alyssa. But
that's such a good point.
There's some parents that have like come out and they've been like, oh, this is my name. I'd be like, oh, sorry, I haven't introduced myself yet. So like, especially with Teacher Appreciation Week, like I got to know a lot of the parents and like actually introduce myself.
Yeah.
But finding those connections with like figuring out what each parent does, like parents will show up in scrubs and they'll be like, oh, like I want to be a nurse. And like, I just kind of, that's been really easy to talk with them. And sort of, I've had parents ask me like, what can we do at home? Which has kind of given me a little bit of confidence to be like, oh, they like trust my word, they trust me with their kid. But I've seen that in each classroom. I've also gotten a lot of help from all the teachers, like to talk with parents. They've kind of told me like a little bit about each parent and like how to talk to them.
If you missed it, one thing that your learning experience was, I was a little bit timid and shy at the beginning with parents and wasn't introducing myself, and then you realize by day 3, 4, 5 it's too late. Like it's too late and awkward to be like, oh, hey, by the way, now so that's a good tip, is that take advantage of your first meetings to introduce yourself. Take advantage of those first initial days to introduce yourself to as many parents as you can, so you don't get 3 or 4 days in and have those awkward, like it's too late now. That's a really good point. Any final thoughts or experiences or advice you might give to someone coming in brand new to a new childcare center? Maybe this is their first time ever working in the center. So reflecting back on your experiences, what kind of recommendations, advice would you give to a rookie?
I'd still qualify myself as a rookie.
Yeah, sure.
But go in like you know what you're doing, and like if you've worked with kids before, you just have to do what you've been doing and accept all sort of criticism, I guess, or like tips. Yeah. Even if like you don't particularly agree with it, but if you hear it from another teacher, you gotta trust it. At least if it's like for one kid, for all the kids. And maybe when you go to another classroom, someone will say something different. And so then you kind of can figure out your own way of doing things. But in the moment, if you're new, like, you should just listen to what they tell you to do. Like, just be happy doing it. I think another thing is stay out of any gossip and drama. Sort of just do your own thing. And if, like, there's a problem, maybe find a compromise. We were talking about like hours and stuff and clocking out. Like people will tell me to go home and I'll be like, well, maybe like 5 more minutes, let me find something to go do. So it's like, I want to stay for a little bit longer. So I go find something to do, like clean or help with, like ask the teacher if they need curriculum and they can go do that for a little bit, just so I'm not like just doing it, but I'm also not staying for no reason. So kind of figuring out like what to do. So compromising with people instead of just ignoring what they're saying, and then because that just creates a whole negative environment. And
that's good too. And a lot of times too, if someone's part-time and you don't want to get your hours cut because you cut in your paycheck when you do that, is if it's that person that's like, hey, we're at ratio, you can go. Coming up with solutions that are productive, or asking, is there anything I could do for you before I go? Is there anything prep I can get done? And if that's not successful, go to the director and say, hey, at the end of the day, when we're at ratio and stuff like that, is there any short work, like you call it in a restaurant, that I could do at the end of the day to help this classroom, that classroom, the center? And as long as they have, a tiny bit looser budget. I mean, to me, that's just great. Anytime I have someone that wants to be able to work laterally and be, multitask at times where we don't have them on kids is great.
Yeah. Well, like it was last week. Like Sam was like, "Do you want to go?" Because it was really like we had dropped really quick, and I was like, maybe like another 10 more minutes, because she was at ratio and she was like, "Well, let me think." 30 seconds. She was like, "Do you want to go clean the little office area?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll dust." So I spent 4 or 5 minutes doing that, cleaning some glass, and then I was done.
Yeah.
So it's like just finding little things to do, asking. Like you can't just stand there and say, "No, I'm gonna stay." Like making sure that you voice
and look around. Look around the program. If you know the difference between cluttered and organized, or dirty and clean, or wiped off versus, super clean and disinfected and sanitized and all that kind of stuff. I mean, goodness gracious, there's always toys to clean and always shelves to wipe down. There's always stuff to do if you want hours that other staff will appreciate. So that's all good stuff.
When you know the routine, then it makes it easier.
Yep.
To kind of just be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go do this." And same with like when there's diapers too. Be like, "Oh, let me change a couple diapers and then I'll head out."
Yeah.
So
no one's going to tell you no on that one.
Yeah. I think I clocked out one time, said bye to a couple kids, and then there was a diaper that I needed to change because she couldn't go in by herself. So she was like, "Can you just clock back in for like 2 minutes?" So I did it. But yeah, I think just once you know the routine, then you just kind of step in and do it.
You got it. Take that initiative. I love it. That's a pretty butterfly. Scary?
I'm not a fan of butterflies.
You're not
like from afar.
So if one landed on your shoulder,
I'd freak out.
Oh my goodness.
I told bees, butterflies, flies, dragonflies.
Okay.
I have a butterfly tattoo though. But not. It's like I like them. They're pretty.
Okay. Well, we're gonna leave you with that. Right? Drop a comment in here, like what's going on with the butterfly thing.
Moths.
Yeah, I kind of get the moths.
Okay. Good.
All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks for following along. I appreciate you. Have a marvelous day.